Can you believe we have been here for 7 months in Southeast Asia?
I know, it feels like we live here now, but we don't.
No, and actually it's almost time for us to leave. Unfortunately, we're going to miss it, but we're heading back to Europe in a couple of days. So it feels like a good time to do a recap of our tour through Southeast Asia. We're going to tell you what is hot and what is not.
And make sure to stick around until the end because we're going to tell you who each country is best for, so you don't want to miss that.
All right, Amelia, let's dive in. And we started our tour and are ending our tour in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
This country is amazing. The city is one of my all-time favorites. It has a lot going for it. I love how incredibly affordable it is. I love the architecture, the buildings, all these skyscrapers are just amazing. I'm looking out the window right now, looking at them.
It's very futuristic. So we came here actually for 2 reasons. We were invited to speak at the Nomad Capitalist event last September, and we wanted to come here and do our health screenings, which here they're incredible. It's like a physical on steroids, like times 100. So we did like the full 100-point inspection, and we had some health issues to deal with. So this is a great place to do that because they have phenomenal health care and it's super affordable.
It's also really developed here. I really appreciate all of the modern amenities we have at our disposal, especially when the cost of living is so low. It is pretty walkable, although you and I debated on this, but they do have some public transportation. You can take Grabs and they're very, very affordable. And we have also met so many great people here. The locals are super friendly. We've gotten to know a lot of people, but we've also made friends. It just makes it so much better.
And a lot of our friends that we've made are actually foreigners like we are who are traveling. They spot us walking down the sidewalk because of our YouTube channel. And it's always a pleasure to meet our fans and people who watch our videos.
I also really appreciate the high quality of food here. The groceries have been phenomenal. This is some of the best tasting produce we've had, I think, since we lived in Ecuador.
I would agree with that. I think the major downside though is the heat and humidity. And this is kind of the cool season that we're in. I remember when we got here, it was like 95 degrees and humid, and we got in the Grab and he's like, man, you got here at just the right time. It's really cooled off. And I thought, my goodness, how hot must it get in the summer here?
Yeah, I know. I don't think they have a cool season personally, but we have not lived here around an entire 365 days, but I don't know if I totally buy that. I wish that we weren't so far away, but I feel like that about Southeast Asia. That is just an overall con to me. The time zone is really difficult.
Yeah, it's kind of brutal. We're 12 hours different from East Coast time right now. So when we're going to bed, everyone else is getting up and starting their day. And when we get up in the morning, everyone else has gone home for the night. It's really rough when we're trying to do things during business hours from this part of the world. So I'm not going to miss that part, and I'm going to be thankful to be back in Europe for a while.
One of the things I really miss that we have not enjoyed is the fact that there aren't a lot of parks that we could go to. But honestly, even if they were, I don't think we would go. We'd have to go at like midnight so we aren't totally sweaty. That was one of my favorite things about Tirana is we used to go for long walks around that massive park.
Yeah, but you can go for long walks around massive malls here. And if you don't like the one on this side of the street, you just cross over to the other side. And there's another one because they're all over here. This is a mall culture. They're like Starbucks in the US. There's one on every corner and they're really big. Our favorite one, I think, is TRX.
That is a gorgeous mall.
I know, but we also like the Lalaport Pavilion, the Surya Mall, and Times Square. Almost forgot about Times Square. I mean, there's so many malls to choose from and they're all just so big and nice.
Well, and they're very well air conditioned. So it's a great way to cool down, especially if you walk like we do. You could just pop into one of those places and cool down for a bit and then head on your way.
I think it's also time to head on our way to our second stop, which was Phuket, Thailand. And we chose this spot for a couple of reasons. One is we got $89 tickets to fly there. That was for both of us. It's super cheap to go to a popular beach destination. And we've kind of always wanted to see it anyway.
The beach was gorgeous. Oh my gosh, it was phenomenal. We just took a few days off. We cleared our schedule and just camped out at the beach. It was a perfect time for us to be there because it was quiet. There was like nobody around. I cannot believe it. And the services that we got on the beach were extremely affordable. The rest of Phuket was more expensive.
A lot of people said, why are you going to Phuket? Why are you wasting your time there? We liked it. I mean, I wouldn't go back because it was really crowded and really expensive. And there's a lot of other places to see, but 14 million tourists are expected to visit there this year. And we're YouTubers. We kind of wanted a video about Phuket out there for those 14 million tourists coming this year.
Well, and I'm glad we went. Like I said, the beach was a really pleasant surprise. I was a little disappointed in the place overall because getting around was tough, but I'm glad we went.
Yeah, me too. When we left Phuket, we flew to Chiang Mai, Thailand. A lot of people recommended that to us as a really popular place to live. It's in north central Thailand, and it's an old city. It actually has a really old central area. It's a really cool city, and we did enjoy our time there.
We did. I was really amazed by seeing all of those beautiful temples, and I like to be able to see the mountains. There was definitely a lot more green going on there compared to our time in Phuket. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I did not love it. I don't really have a particular reason. It just really didn't sing to me, but it does to a lot of other people. They have a really big expat community. It is very popular.
Yeah, I think maybe it's just not quite as developed as some of the other places that we've been in Southeast Asia. And the air quality wasn't great. It wasn't even burn season, but it was still pretty poor air quality. And I felt like I wasn't able to breathe there very well.
There were a lot of things that were really nice about it. The food was excellent. The people are super friendly, and it was quite a bit more affordable compared to Phuket. Not nearly as affordable as KL, though. I think overall in Thailand, the prices have just gone up.
Yeah, they have. It's not as cheap as it used to be. When we left Chiang Mai, we flew to Bangkok, Thailand. And I gotta say, I really liked the city. It's got everything. It is a world-class city. The shopping, the food, the public transportation was great. It has 2 international airports. You can get direct flights back to North America and to Europe and every place in between. I just really enjoyed our time there. I found it extremely stimulating.
Stimulating is a good word. At times it was a bit overstimulating to me. We were there around Christmas. There were Christmas lights everywhere. There was Christmas music everywhere. There was just lots of lights and lots of traffic and lots of noise, and it was a bit much for me. I did start to relax and enjoy it a little bit more after we learned our way around. I loved taking the metro. That was super affordable and very easy and convenient to use, but not my favorite. Sorry, Thailand.
No, Thailand did not resonate with Amelia on this trip for some reason. I actually really enjoyed our time there.
When we left Bangkok, we went to Cambodia, specifically Siem Reap, which was amazing.
Yeah, it was only about an hour, a little less than an hour, I think 45-minute flight. Actually took us longer to get from the airport in Siem Reap to the town of Siem Reap. They built a brand new, beautiful airport, but it's quite a hike from town.
I really enjoyed it there, and I wish we would have stayed longer, and I cannot wait to go back. It felt more comfortable to me. It reminded me a lot of when we lived on the coast of Ecuador, except that instead of beaches, we had Angkor Wat and all of those incredible ruins and the history. Amazing.
And the flying foxes.
Oh, yeah. Those were cool.
I know, it was kind of creepy. They're really big, and there was a lot of them. But by far the best part is Angkor Wat. In fact, it was just rated the most underrated landmark in the world by a bunch of Brits who voted on a poll. But I have to agree with them. I think it's completely underrated because it was even better than I anticipated. And this is a childhood dream of mine to go see the place. And sometimes you end up disappointed when you fulfill a childhood dream, but not there. I was just in awe the whole time we were walking around all the different temples.
Yeah, and we just did the 1-day tour, and we would go back and do the 3 days so we could really take our time and experience everything. The town itself is nice. It's definitely rustic. It's a big change going from KL and Chiang Mai even. It's not nearly as developed, but it is really nice and small, and the people are very friendly. Plus, you could take tuk-tuks all over the place, which I just loved. It was super fun.
Yeah, we do like our tuk-tuk travel, and they even work on the Grab. There's a Grab tuk-tuk, and Grab is like Uber for those of you who don't know what that is. It was like $1 for us to take a Grab to most places from our hotel to restaurants or shops. I couldn't believe how affordable it was, and they would be right there too. Like they're waiting usually somewhere around the area, and they also had 50-cent draft beers. Their Encore beer, it's a good beer too.
It is. It's nice and light. It's good in the heat because it was hot when we were there. The next stop was Phnom Penh, which is the capital of Cambodia, and we both had some pretty hardcore culture shock.
Yeah, that was the first time I've actually felt culture shock since Greece, surprisingly. It's so odd that I felt culture shock there of all places, but I did, and I felt it in Phnom Penh when we first arrived there. It was a little bit of an adjustment. We arrived at dusk, and it was crowded, and the Grab driver took us down a bunch bunch of dark alleys as a shortcut because the traffic was horrible, and it was not a very good welcome to Phnom Penh. But after we woke up the next day and we went out and walked around, it was blue sky, as bright, as beautiful. People were super friendly. I really warmed up to it on that first day that we were there.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was really uncomfortable and I was wondering, oh my gosh, what did we get ourselves into? But then I said, okay, just take a deep breath. It's just different and people like it here, and the people are so friendly here. They were in Siem Reap and they were so friendly in Phnom Penh too, and we were really glad we stayed, and we extended our stay.
Yeah, we actually liked it enough to stay longer once we had been there for a while. I think the problem was that the old airport is not in the best part of town. It's not a really good way to welcome people to the city. Luckily, they're building an awesome new airport. It's going to be, I think, the 8th largest in the world when it's completed, and it's supposed to open sometime this summer, and it looks freaking gorgeous. So I can't wait till the next time we go back and fly into that new airport. But I think that's going to make people feel a lot better about this city coming into that.
Yeah, honestly, when we drove back to the airport, we went a different direction and it was a much nicer experience. So had we had that coming in, I don't think we would have experienced as much culture shock. But that's okay. We share it with you. You guys got to know the good and the bad.
Yeah, definitely. I think the things we liked most about Cambodia overall and Phnom Penh is the food. The people were incredible. I mean, I got to go back to the food. The restaurants were unbelievable. The quality of the food, it was so flavorful and high quality and affordable. We could eat out for lunch for like $5 for the two of us. Dinner, sometimes we'd spend $10 or $15 on dinner for both of us. I can't believe how affordable it was.
And the grocery shopping was really good too. You can get a wide variety of stuff. I really liked going to the grocery store. The history is very sobering, but it is very powerful, and I'm really glad we took the time to learn more about it. And it gave us a bigger or greater appreciation for the Cambodian people, and I'm impressed that they are so happy because they have been through a hell of a lot. We also encountered a lot of people that spoke English, more than I was anticipating, which obviously made things a lot easier because my Cambodian is basically non-existent.
Yeah, non-existent. Mine too. Before we talk about our month in Vietnam, we have a huge announcement. We have been working really hard on something you guys have been asking us for a long time, and it's finally ready. The Turtle Travel Club.
It's a private community for slow travelers over 40 who want to explore the world with more purpose, connection, and community.
When you join, you'll get access to our member-only community on Mighty Networks, group turtle trips with us and your fellow travelers, global meetups, and a circle of like-minded adventurers.
Our first turtle trip is already in the works, and we are officially kicking things off with a live launch party soon. So now is the perfect time to join us as a founding member.
Just scan this QR code here to learn more, or go to ameliaandjp.com/club.
Next up is Da Nang, Vietnam, not Da Nang.
No, we got a lot of comments from people saying that in the 60s and 70s, all the national broadcasters in the U.S. pronounced it Da Nang, and they were convinced we were wrong. But I can assure you it's pronounced Da Nang, kind of monotoned with equal emphasis on both words. We talked to a lot of Vietnamese people while we were there, and other people who have been living there for a while. They all pronounce it Da Nang. So that is how the Vietnamese people pronounce it, if you want to say it correctly.
We didn't go there just to get a lesson on how to say it properly, though. We went there because we wanted to go to the beach, and a lot of you said we should go check it out because it is really popular with tourists and expats from all over the world.
It is pretty walkable overall, although we did find ourselves in the older parts of town walking down the middle of the street with the motorcycles and the cars, which is a bit unnerving because they just kind of take over the sidewalks for parking and restaurants and shops and mechanics and all that kind of stuff. But overall, I would say it was pretty walkable. And we also thought the locals were really friendly. We felt very welcomed there by all of the people that we talked to.
There's a lot of things to do there. I really loved going to all of the different historic sites, and I really enjoyed taking our long beach walks, which I missed from our Olom days.
We stayed in an apart suite. We got a really good deal on it, considering that we were there during Tet, which is the Vietnamese New Year. We got a really smoking deal on a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo and a kind of a luxury apart suite. It was only a couple minutes from the beach, so I feel like we scored, Amelia.
We did. The location was fantastic. I loved the view, although we did also have that view of that building that was abandoned. So that was a pro and a con, but that's the way it is around the world.
Yeah, I think it may be why it was so cheap is because of that construction site. But it didn't bother us. I mean, we could still see the the sea from there.
Yeah, and things are just cheap overall. It has a very low cost of living. The food was very affordable. It was actually cheaper for us to eat out than to go and buy groceries, which I still am having a hard time wrapping my head around. The food when we ate out was delicious. However, I found the food quality was not as good at the grocery stores. It just didn't have as much flavor.
Yeah, another thing that was kind of shocking was all the trash. It definitely has a problem with litter. We saw a lot of trash on the streets and just piles of trash, and it's not like in bags, just torn open and trash going everywhere. And that was a bit disappointing.
That was very disappointing, but we didn't let that stop us. We walked all over the place. We went and saw a lot of things like that cool dragon bridge. It's a tourist attraction. Actually, I think the locals go and enjoy that too. It was really fun. And then we went over to Hoi An, which was a completely different experience. And it was so close. It was only a 30-minute drive? We went and wandered around ancient town, and it was really beautiful.
The weather was a bit surprising while we were there because it had been so hot in Thailand and Malaysia. And we got to Da Nang, and it was cloudy and rainy and cool in the upper 60s Fahrenheit most of the time that we were there. It hit low 70s a couple days, but we were really expecting it to be a lot hotter than that. And I know it's the rainy season, but even some of the locals told us that it was unseasonably cold for that time of year.
I loved it. I loved it. If you were going for a beach vacation, you probably would have been pretty unhappy, but I was in heaven. It was a nice change of pace. And the rain it didn't rain all the time, so it didn't stop us. And we did have some really nice sunny days where the sun was actually pretty intense. I imagine it would be quite hot there during high season.
Yeah, the major drawback though about Vietnam is they don't have any good residency visas. They don't have a retirement visa. Most people who choose to live there long-term do visa runs every 90 days, and they hire a company that helps them do that. I guess if you're okay with that, we would not be okay with that because a couple people commented on our video about Da Nang. And that reminds me, we have videos about every single one of these cities on our YouTube channel. You can check a playlist. I'll link that in the description if you want to watch those. But we had some comments from people saying that they left during COVID and weren't allowed back in the country. So imagine that if you have your whole life set up there, an apartment, all your furniture and belongings and everything, and you go to do a visa run and you can't get back in. It's too stressful for me to deal with that.
Yeah, I would not put myself in that situation. However, a lot of people choose to do so. To each their own.
When we left Da Nang, we flew to Singapore, which is actually the longest flight that we've had since we arrived in Southeast Asia, and it was still less than 3 hours, so it wasn't too bad. Singapore has always been one of those places I wanted to see for myself because it just looks so futuristic and fantastical, and I gotta say it exceeded my expectations in every way, kind of like Angkor Wat did for a different reason, but I really enjoyed my time there.
I did too. The city-state is the official term, is amazing. It is fully developed, so if you want to go and visit a fully developed place in Southeast Asia, this is it. You're going to be able to find anything and everything you need there.
Yeah, it was so clean and orderly, and there's no trash, and it's walkable, and they have crosswalks and sidewalks and crossing lights and crossing guards. It was so beautiful. The parks were amazing. We went to the botanical gardens and the gardens by the bay, and I was just in awe everywhere we went. The buildings, the architecture, the people were nice. The shopping was next gen. I mean, it was so amazing, the shopping opportunities there, and they were everywhere.
I loved the public transportation. It was extremely easy to get around. The city is so well connected. And it was cheap to take public transportation. I mean, if we weren't walking, but speaking of walking, you could walk underground, so you could walk for quite a ways without ever having to be in that heat, which was a real blessing.
The heat and the humidity were kind of the major downside, aside from the expensive nature of the place. It's so expensive.
It's so expensive.
It was last year, I think 2024, the most expensive city in the world to live. And we can see why, even more expensive than New York City. And we couldn't stay for very long, unfortunately, because it just wasn't in our budget.
No, but it's definitely a place we would want to go back to. We were just so impressed. If you're someone who does not like a lot of rules, however, it may not be the place for you. They do have a lot of restrictions, although I do like some of them, like the whole no gum chewing, because as soon as we got back into KL, JP stepped in gum twice.
On the way to the grocery store. Yeah, so when we left Singapore, we closed the loop by returning here to Kuala Lumpur for some health checkups before we head back to Europe. And in a couple of days. We only have a couple more days here.
Yeah, it's hard to believe.
I know. I'm going to miss it. I do feel like this is home now, but it's not. So we have to continue our journey and have new videos to show you guys.
And I have to agree with you. I'm actually going to miss it too. Despite some of the downsides, mainly the heat and the time zone issues, I love it here.
Now let's talk about who each country is best for, I guess, based on your personal circumstances. The first is, if you're looking for an easy visa, that is Thailand for sure.
Thailand has a wide variety of visas, so you are bound to find something that will work for you. They have retirement, long stay, digital nomad, work. I'm not going to rattle them all off. You guys can look them up.
Yeah, the downside though is they did change their tax laws recently, so you need to make sure you understand those before you commit to Thailand, because you might be paying a lot more in taxes that you weren't expecting.
The best if you're looking for an affordable destination is Cambodia. It is by far the cheapest place we have been to worldwide.
Definitely. We could eat out for a few bucks at lunch and maybe 10 bucks for dinner. The groceries were affordable as long as we stuck to more of the local brands, the Asian brands or Cambodian brands. If you buy the imported stuff from the United States or Canada or Europe, it's a lot more expensive there, but the local food's really cheap.
Housing is affordable as well. However, I think the best housing options you're going to find are in Vietnam. You can get good deals on long-term rentals, and people do that even though they don't have a long-term visa.
If you like living large, then Singapore is your place. It is the perfect city, in my opinion. I would totally love to live there if I was a multi-millionaire. And you couldn't even, I don't think you get by comfortably on $1 million there. I think you need multiple millions to actually live the kind of lifestyle you would want in Singapore.
You can go and stay there for up to 90 days. So if you just want to take it for an extended trip, you definitely can do that. Just make sure you budget accordingly. And one of the other benefits that we didn't mention earlier is that it's English speaking there. So it is extremely easy just to fit right in. You're going to feel like it is more like living back in the US or Canada or UK.
Yeah, but I think overall though, our top pick is Kuala Lumpur out of all the places that we've been here, because it is so easy to live here. It's affordable. The housing is affordable. In fact, they've kind of overbuilt on their housing, which is why they're offering still their golden visa program, because they have such a huge inventory that they're trying to sell more of it, which also helps keep the price of housing down. And we spend not very much on our groceries, and we eat high quality food, and we go out to nice restaurants and nice grocery stores, and we live a really high quality of life here for a really affordable cost of living.
I'm very impressed with the utilities here. Everything works very well. It is very modern. The healthcare is spectacular. We've been paying out of pocket and it's been in our budget, so I'm really happy about that. This is definitely in my top 3 of places we have visited around the world.
Well, that was a fun walk down memory lane of our time here in Southeast Asia, but it is time for us to move on, and we're really excited to go to our next new country, one we haven't been to before, so be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss that video.
And before you go, be sure to check out the Turtle Travel Club by clicking the link here and join us on a future trip.
That would be cool. We get to hang out in real life, finally.
I would love that.
And also check out these videos next if you're interested in Southeast Asia.
Thank you so much for watching. Before you go, leave us a like, please, and we will see you all in our next video.
Ciao.
Ciao.